And we are live. So, guys, this is completely not planned. Jackie is here with me. Jackie owns, name your practice.
That's performance physical therapy in
Yes.
Coldwater.
Coldwater, Ohio, about 2 hours north-ish of me. I went to visit Jackie's clinic maybe a month ago. And she has such an amazing business set up. I basically said, hey, I want to do a live event with you. I want Dave. Every now and then, my New York accent comes out, my Long Island accent. I just said with you, WIT. Okay.
Wit.
Yeah. I said, hey, I want to, connect with you. I want to do a live event. I want to talk about how you're using the NewFit, how you're doing what you do. She and her husband just built this whole performance center, really, in a separate space, separate from the physical therapy clinic. I am so jealous. The eye for style, the design, the color scheme, everything. She is what I aspire to be if I was going down that road and building my business. No lie. So that being said, Jackie is going to be with us through the morning. Everybody who's joining now, post your questions. But Dave, we had a topic that we were going to talk about first. Remind me what it was.
We had a couple things, but I would love to just talk about the NewFit and how Jackie's using it, and get her thoughts on her approach and why. I think you said they have 7 units. I think that's enough for probably the whole show.
8. Actually, we have 8.
Eight. Excuse me.
Yeah, so go ahead, introduce it.
So yeah, I was very fortunate in the fact that during COVID, I learned about the Neubie in 2019, and I flew down to Florida because Jason was doing some training, so I did that. And then we started seeing some really, really impressive results with what we had, and with our clinicians at the time. I think we had 5 PTs, 4 or 5 PTAs, and a few rehab techs. And knowing that the results we were already getting, we needed more of them in order to serve our patients the way we wanted to. And then COVID hit, and that's when Garrett was going to myself and another therapist was going to fly to Florida or fly to Texas and get the training. Well, then everything was shut down, and we took advantage of the opportunity. We said, everybody's coming to work. And we shut down for patient care for 2 weeks, but 1 whole week we did training, the entire staff. So I kind of drew a line, either you're with us or you're not with us. And everybody said, hey, we're with you. And so our entire staff was trained in the use of the Neubie. And ever since then, one thing led to another, and it really expanded not only what we treat, because when you're in a rural area, you have to treat everything. You have anything that walks in the door. And then the more we used it, the more we realized, actually, there's really a neural-driven approach to a lot of the conditions that we treat. And then it really exponentially improved our outcomes, especially with vestibular rehab. I would say most of our patients, it's 2-3 visits at most if they truly have BPPV. And it also was the lead domino in treating some other conditions like acute flaccid myelitis, which is a very rare pediatric polio. That was actually the reason why we started it.
This would be an interesting story, because this was one of the things that I was thinking. She went down this road of, she had a referral, a unique case, not very popular, but then got involved with Facebook groups, got involved with the community around this condition. First, I had no idea. I've never heard of this condition. I'm going to switch seats with her because I want you to sit here.
Okay.
Better audio.
Okay.
That's your camera now. She had this that she was treating, but then even she just said BPPV. I had no idea you could do something for that with the NewFit. And just so you guys know, NewFit is the company, Neubie is the actual product. So I use them interchangeably.
Yeah.
But
it's the NewFit method. So it's the Neubie is the machine. The NewFit method is how you use the machine. So it's not just a matter of, I think that's one of the misconceptions that we see a lot of times, is that it's just a machine. It's a modality. And it really isn't. It gives you, to me, I'm a much better clinician. And that's why all of the therapists that, that use the Neubie, and I believe if you're going to do it, go big or go home and really know what you're doing. And now that we use it so much, we see, clinical patterns. Like if you see this, you're going to be treating that. So it kind of, it's not just a treatment tool, it's a diagnostic tool, and it gets you thinking better or more in depth on how to get down to the root cause of treating a lot of different conditions.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
at the time when you guys got the first device, or even since then, is your practice performance, PT, and wellness? Are you guys 100% in network with most payers, with most insurances?
That's I'm so glad you asked that, because what I'm starting is current medicine, play on words, is how to use electrotherapeutic modalities in breaking away from your 100% all cash or all insurance based therapy. So when before we had the Neubie, we were 100% insurance based. And what we have been able to do is, because our outcomes are so much better, they are so much faster. It has become and your insurance, the value of your insurance is much less. Deductibles are much higher. So patients, even if you're out of network, if they know that it's going to be like, let's just say vertigo for example, if they know it's going to be 2 or 3 visits, and sometimes it's one and done, that, it comes down to a solution, not how many visits you treat. So if you can give them the solution, that has enabled us to really decrease the amount of, in-network necessity. In fact, since then, we've dropped a lot of Aetna, we've dropped Humana, we've dropped Medicaid, those, payer, just because it is keeping on that treadmill is unsustainable.
I told her
she
should be doing what Angie does with Apex. She should be signing, the cancellation agreements, like making it a big event, like grandstand that. Because I mean, that's where they're going. And before we got on this podcast, we were talking about, look, I showed her the soft wave. We have the NewFit out there. I was like, this is what we're charging. This is how we're pricing it. This is what we're doing. Because we're still so stuck in the mindset of everything has to be paid for by insurance when it really doesn't, so go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you.
Awesome. So, okay. So you have been in the process of dropping lower paying insurance contracts. That makes sense. Let's say I don't know your area. You said which area of Ohio? I just saw it. Coldwater.
Coldwater. It's in the middle of a bunch of cornfields and bean fields, and a lot of chickens and cows and pigs.
Got it. Let's say I move from New York City. I move to Coldwater, Ohio. I call you guys up, or I stop in. What would be if I have pain? I have back pain. I come in, and let's say, like, I'm coming from New York City, so I don't have insurance right now. I have a lot of back pain. My buddy Tony Maritato said to go check this place out. And do you got, like, how much is it? And is it like physical therapy on the front end? Is it right into some Neubie treatment? How much would it be? And how does that process go?
Actually, it's very interesting because of the Neubie, we are in the middle of nowhere. And since having it and treating this specialized condition, I have had patients come in from all over the United States. I have patients from Singapore. I've had patients from Australia. I've had patients, come to our little area, Los Angeles. And they come into our area for, sometimes 4 weeks, sometimes 6 weeks, depending on the situation. Or sometimes if it's just a one and done and they want to see, like, I'm in from the area. In fact, I have family that live or work right in New York City, and, I've hooked them up. And so if they would come in, and which has actually really happened, I would, do my normal evaluation. And I definitely, if it's warranted and it's not contraindicated, I definitely will do a thorough evaluation. I'll do like that mapping, and I'll see, primarily if it's like an orthopedic condition, like, can I reproduce their comparable sign, and map them, and then start in with treatment. And depending on, if they're going to be in for a little while, we'll set up a plan of care, or like and I'll treat them usually. And it just depends on the situation. I've gone to starting to do more of what we call solutions-based offers, meaning instead of you pay me for every single visit, which I think it's set up wrong, because like, what is the incentive of improving your skills and investing in technology? You're going to get paid the same. But I do feel that if you have a great clinical skill set and you have the technology that can get those greater outcomes, sell them the solution. That's what they want. They don't care how they get there. And I think that's what the most important thing is to do. And that's how we will set it up. And then we'll give them a home program, and we can do telehealth, or, coaching, or whatever, is most appropriate to them.
Awesome. So if I was in Coldwater, I'm new to the area, I didn't have insurance, I call in, I say I have back pain, maybe, am I scheduling the evaluation and that's a certain dollar amount, or you're going to do a sales process over the phone and find out, like, I run, I lift weights, and I want to be able to get back to squatting 225 without any pain, or running 3 to 5 miles without any pain? Is the offer right into the solutions-based offer, or is it like an evaluation in person, then you pitch the solutions-based offer?
Yeah. So what it starts with is that good conversation first. What's going on. I want to have some good background before, so we'll send you some paperwork. And then we'll have a conversation of what that actually looks like, and then without seeing you, to say that I can do this for you I think it's unrealistic. So the way we have it set up, that I will do your evaluation, and depending on the situation, generally 180 is our evaluation, and depending, that's for an hour evaluation. If I know I'm going to have somebody coming in from out of town, which we do, we have patients that do come in on a regular basis, actually a few from Cincinnati, that come, and if we know we're going to make it worth their time, we're going to spend probably at least an hour and a half to 2 hours with them.
Now, real quick, my objective is to get that 180 to 500, because I mean, just seeing what she did out here. So like, she was out here with me. I wanted her to see how she's doing things with the NewFit, because I don't know it that well, and I'm here to learn. The evaluation was ridiculously thorough. The stuff that she was looking at was far deeper than I would be looking at. The clinical, and the thing is, she's so used to it, she doesn't even realize the value of what she's giving away. And I'm going to say, if somebody's willing to come to Coldwater, they're willing to spend $500. That should be the initial offer. Come out, we'll do a $500 evaluation, plan of care, establish goals, and then we'll determine what comes after that. And then you, Mr. Client, can make the decision on whether it's something you want to do. But like, this would be a great example where I would say, absolutely, we are way undercharging. But that's why, we have these conversations. That's why we have this podcast. It's because when you're in a bubble, when you're away from everybody and you don't have other people around to say, oh my gosh, what you're giving away gold for the price of copper. We need to change that. So hopefully before the end of today, we push that barrier a little bit.
In fact, I love treating. I love it when we have patients coming in from all over.
Well, that's the problem. You love it. And so you don't even think you have to get paid for it, because you enjoy it so much. But yeah, like it was amazing watching her in action and seeing what she was looking at. No doubt, like that price will go up.
Love it. So, so with your ability to attract folks out of town, Jackie, you're probably, you might answer, the answer might be multiple reasons. First of all, I love the website. I just had it up. Performance. I just lost the tone. Performanceptw.com.
Yes.
And then that looks like the main landing page that then the patient or client can pick either performance PT and wellness. I guess if they have pain or an injury, it says, treating a specific diagnosis or condition, or there's the new thing Tony talked about. It sounds like the peak performance and health. Before we get into that, how are folks finding you outside of town, outside of whether in Cincinnati or in other states or other countries? Is it this sleek website? Is it you're on a directory through Neubie and NewFit because they have a global reach? Is it because you have great video testimonials on your website? I'm sure it's a lot of the spokes of the wheel, but like, how do you think you're able to attract folks out of town? Like, what are you doing online that allows you to get in front of other people in LA or Singapore or other countries and other states?
I think when it comes to patients that have been like from, all over the United States, that is very specific to acute flaccid myelitis. In fact, when I first started with that condition, I mean, I didn't like neuro at all. And now that we have the Neubie, I love it because it's like, it really expands your possibilities. But I feel that that's how, like Facebook groups and things like that, I feel like I need to, and that's really my drive soon, is to increase a lot of, that social media presence, because I think that it's word of mouth. And the NewFit Corporation, where our clinic is considered now a center of excellence. So there's 8 clinics in the United States that are considered centers of excellence. So you can be training, and that also, all the technology that we use, I'm part of their Facebook groups.
Okay, so most of the out of town referrals or folks seeking you have to do with that diagnosis specifically.
Yeah, those, yes. I mean, and when you have it's a small world, it's kind of like when you have a really good outcome with a physician, or you have a really good outcome with a patient, they tell people, and the world is not so small anymore.
Awesome. What are some other surprising things that you found out in the first year or two of using this? And then when you went from buying the first unit to the second or third, what was the aha moment? Was it specifically about treating this condition and the outcome, and then the response to that? What was the aha moment to go from one unit to multiple, and then eventually continue to add units?
I think one is the versatility. So a Neubie just actually completed this, or one of the studies, but like things that normally you could never treat effectively. For example, diabetic neuropathy. We had a patient who was a school teacher, and she had neuropathy associated with chemo, and she was a gym teacher, and she lost the ability to actually do her job effectively. And we did a diabetic neuropathy protocol with her, and she actually went to a wedding, and she was able to dance for the first time. That was huge. So treating things that we knew beforehand that really didn't affect anything. You can have really good manual skills. You can have really good, you can have a lot of different skills, but that intellectual property is very much centered on the provider, and that also becomes a bottleneck with running a practice. And what I don't want, our clinic to be Jackie Bruering's physical therapy clinic. It's performance, and each one of us are all contributing to this, kind of like this movement. And I want all of the clinicians good. And yes, we spend a lot of time on skill set development, but the Neubie enables for even that new grad to get some successes under their belt without having learned and having that big experience. Is that if you can give them confidence of like, gosh, I can do this, and I can really make a big difference in a short period of time, that boosts their confidence level, and it just becomes a catalyst for them to become a better clinician.
Did you guys already talk about team size and what your team looks like?
We briefly talked about it. Like currently we have 4 PTs, 4 PTAs, and 2.5 rehab techs.
So look, like Coldwater is not metro. It's not,
oh my gosh, no.
Downtown Manhattan. I complain that I can't find staff, and she's got a full team. It's just, again, it's one of those things where I think if you build something that people want to be part of, they're going to come out of the woodwork. They're going to come out, and they're going to be part of that. And you have some competition around you. You have a hospital outpatient clinic around you. What else is there?
There's the hospital, and they have like amongst the contracts that they have, which is like all the athletic training, yeah, speech, OT, PT. We have just PT. So we don't have, a lot of things, but their staff is huge. There's other companies that are like maybe not national. Oh, there's a few national companies that are local, that are in our area, but there's very few, those individual private practice that are. In fact, there's hardly anybody that's more than a one-off. Some people like, hey, you put up your sign and they treat patients because they want to treat it the way they want to. It's just that I wanted to have, more impact and, get these clinicians. Like, I feel like they need, there needs to be an option other than a big healthcare system.
Love it. Approximately how many of your patients and clients that are coming in that have the traditional outpatient ortho, aches and pains or the neurological presentations? What percentage of your caseload across all of your clinicians are using the Neubie on at least, once a visit or once every 2 visits? Is it 50-50? Is it, 75, 80% of your
90,
clinicians are
90%?
So it sounds like you've had maybe minimal to no pushback on your clinicians adopting this and using it. And I'm assuming that's because of the patient feedback and the results and the outcomes from the patients say, or what?
I think it's a lot of things, but one, it's feedback. In fact, I just read through our surveys last night, from patients. What was a driver for them? How many, come from, referred friends or family, how many would recommend us, and how many come to our clinic knowing that the technology plays a role in their outcome. And then I cross-reference that with how much did that play a role in your decision to choose us as your provider? And by and large, we are known for using the Neubie, FSM, PEMF, we're starting with laser and things like that, because patients know, we live in an area with a very low unemployment rate. They take pride in getting back to work. They take pride in being, we have our typical, spread demographics, but for the most part, people want to be healthy and they don't want to miss work. They're an athlete and they want to get back on the field ASAP. And in our area, the athlete, the MAC is very well known throughout Ohio as being like crank out, state titles, nobody's business. And they want, an investment that's going to get them real results in as fast as absolutely possible.
Awesome. Tony, what are some other highlights that I think, you're interested in or that you want to kind of highlight here? And I'm sure that you already know, and you probably already spoke with Jackie about it, but maybe it's just not on any of your videos yet. Anything that really impresses you or, questions that you have for her?
I think it's one of those deals where we're looking at this from the perspective of, okay, a small provider coming into the marketplace. How do we differentiate ourselves? How do we expand on the services? I mean, when I started a million years ago, I knew.
Hey. We started at about the same time, so don't say that.
I knew my objective. I said, look, I want a really high quality functional trainer. I think I had $15,000 to invest at that time. I had saved money working at the hospital. I said, I want to buy a really high quality functional trainer. I want a really good set of rubberized dumbbells. That was the equipment that I literally built the practice around. Now, as I look at this, I'm like, there's other things that we could do. We could literally, if I was a mobile therapist, like the NewFit comes in a little carrier with wheels and you can bring it around. I took it to places already. I'm like, I would build my business around that device. You use the device. You also do the musculoskeletal ultrasound, the imaging. I would build my business around that technology, especially if it's a differentiating factor that nobody else around me has. And I would be the expert in that. And my price would double instantly just because I'm not providing the commodity that everybody else can provide. I'm providing that unique experience that nobody else has access to. That's really where I'm trying to go with this. And all the stuff that I do, I don't care. I don't need to do that. I'm doing it because I enjoy it. I'm doing it because I like to experiment. And then if we can kind of crack that nut, I think it'll just help other people understand, oh, this is something that I could use that does benefit the patient, that does benefit profits, that allows me to stay in business in a competitive environment, and nobody else has.
That's awesome. We got a live YouTube comment, Tony, from Feel Better PT, Heather. She said, because earlier we were talking about when Jackie mentioned current medicine, and she said current medicine is a great name for an E-stim protocol.
Yeah, it is. That could be the whole practice.
Actually, that's what I like, what you envision and what I envision. I can honestly say I'm kind of disappointed in our professions. I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
I'm disappointed in myself a little bit, and disappointed in our profession, because I feel like there is no other healthcare practitioner that spends this much time with our patient, and we can give that much impact. And it's so conservative, and it changes people's lives, and we get paid peanuts. And I feel that, like, I have a nephew right now who's going to be graduating from Seton Hall and their PT program, and just hearing about some of his clinicals, and we have a student right now, and what the clinicals are out there. I'm like, we are watering down our profession, and our solution in general is we'll just see more patients. We'll just see more patients per hour. And over time, you water down the effectiveness and what you can do. And I feel like that's what I want to do. I want to say, you can have this machine, but it's how you use that machine that can make it like a ton more effective. Like, we didn't even start with, like, I was going to bring my butcher pan. I was going to bring my, like, we use the gloves. I use a vagus nerve. We use it a lot for the vagus nerve. And like, I have a little like mental research thing in my head. I'm taking measurements about why are we having all these manips, and what's the underdriving factor with arthrofibrosis, and how does that tie in with how we can use the Neubie and use the Neubie in different ways. That really makes a big difference. Yeah, so it's the lead domino, and I think to expand the possibilities, and that's really what I want to do.
So Will Boyd's here. Will Boyd says amazing collab. I know, Will, we got to get you up here. Pittsburgh's not that far away.
Yeah, that's 5 hours.
How does the Neubie device allow you guys to do vagus nerve stimulation? We have a different device. It's called the Stim Pod, and it's pulse radio frequency stimulation. And it's got a ground pad that's a sticky electrode, but then there's a treatment pen, basically like a probe or a pencil.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would put it on. You would just put it wherever with a little bit of ultrasound gel for conductance. And then with that pen, we do like right here inside the ear, not like external auditory meatus or whatever, like
Nope.
the anatomy is. That's how we do vagus nerve stimulation with the Stim Pod. What's the electrode placement for the Neubie when trying to do vagus nerve stimulation?
Okay, so we actually do two things. When we know that somebody has vagus nerve involvement, we use a functional frequency specific microcurrent, which is actually, you can use the Neubie to adapt your treatment to include frequency specific microcurrent. So we'll use different specific frequencies with that, and we'll use wet toweling. So we'll use we'll use a wet towel at their forehead and around their neck. So we'll like sandwich, their neck and head. And then, so we'll use the Neubie in that capacity. And then we also there's a silver mesh glove. And so I will use one of the electrodes that will be back on the neck. And then I'll use my silver mesh glove, and then I'll go right into, like, right along here. And I will actually work in and around the ear, and down in through between the jugular and the carotid artery.
Awesome.
I want to use the glove. I want to use the gloves so bad. I want to be like the character in one of the X-Men or whatever movie. I just want to snap it. Thank you. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No problem. So, so Jackie, what else has been surprising? Like, you guys were part of that Facebook group for the neurological conditions, so that makes sense. What are some of the other things that you've used Newbie for that maybe are lesser known across the US? Like putting, I know like there's like the reset, like there's like the
Oh,
electrodes are put on the, you have a patient lay supine, and is that, what's it called? Like something reset?
the master reset. And what's really, really cool, we also do heart rate variability. So what we'll do is we'll assess them with it's software, a computer, and we'll do heart rate variability tests and to see what is their, what is their neurological health, which that is one of the lead predictors of your overall, what is your health, what is your chronological age compared to your biological age. And when your nervous system is unable to adapt, those readings will be way off. And people say, "Oh, I can check my HRV on my Apple Watch," but actually, it's not near as precise in the measurements. You take a $7,000 piece of equipment versus an Apple Watch, and guarantee you're going to get a lot more, specific results. So then we'll take a baseline, and then we'll hook up the master reset, which is that using the Neubie in a different way. So you want that balance between your sympathetic and your parasympathetic nervous system. And if you're in that, sympathetic overdrive where you're constantly upregulated, your body has a really hard time sleeping. You have a hard time, you have some digestion issues. That ability to rest and recover is, it's not near as optimal as what it should be. So then what we'll do is use the master reset. We have packages that we do, and we'll set the electrodes at their neck and at their feet. We'll put them in a quiet room. We'll make sure we'll get rid of, depending on the situation, get rid of the technology out of the room and let them, comfortably rest for 20 minutes, generally about 20 minutes. And then we do that once a week, and then we'll reassess their HRV measures. And even without doing anything, we've actually had coaches, they need it,
Yeah.
coaches, athletes, people with that. When I had COVID, and when I had the flu, that's one of the things that I'm like, just bring a Neubie home and let me veg out on it. And it definitely helps reset your body. I think any PT, I don't know of any non-stressed PT
Sure.
that's out there. And your ability to sleep, and I sleep terrible, especially in my age. It's harder for me to sleep. So, but using that master reset, we even have staff that during the lunch, they're like, oh, it's just that helps, because it relaxes you without a drug. It makes you, it's like that more aware. You're more in tune. So you don't, in fact, I think they were studying the military with it, because can you balance your nervous system from a combat situation to that ability, like, okay, you've got to be able to sleep. Can you dial that back in a relatively quick period of time without, any drug or a stimulant or, anything that's really going to calm your nervous system down, because there's always side effects to that. There is no side effects.
So, I mean, to me, that sounds like its own business within the business. Obviously, that's something that whether you're doing it mobile, you're going out to the patient's home, delivering this experience, you're doing it in a clinic. We have a building that we're going to go visit later today where I have all of these empty rooms and I have no revenue coming from them. A couple are rented to massage therapists, nutritionists, but I'm like, what am I going to do? I've got the space. I've got the resources. I didn't even know about this. I'm glad you brought it up, because I just think, these are the things, once again, that we don't even realize has the impact and the value that it has. It's certainly not covered by insurance. So we don't even have to deal with, is this covered? Do I have to bill Medicare for it? But it could be something that's running in the background. It could be the cash cow that drives the business, that allows us to do what we want to do in other patient care aspects where we're losing money. Something has to pay the bills.
And I think, go ahead.
I was going to say, Jackie, let's say a patient comes to you and says, I know all about health insurance, and I have Medicare, and Medicare pays for electrical stimulation. So I want you to bill my Medicare.
Well, my take on
But
Medicare.
but I still I want the newbie experience, but I want my Medicare to pay for it.
Well, you can do like what we did. We are now non-par, not accepting assignment with Medicare.
Love
So,
it. There you go.
and let me tell you,
Same with us.
yeah, it Medicare, it is like it is. It's a big, every insurance company, they don't want to pay for anything. Well, I'm not investing like we have a lot of money invested in modalities, and we have to recoup that. And if you want a better outcome, this is what we, depending on the way you use the Neubie. I mean, there's some things that we use. I'm like, okay, that's definitely a neurally driven, a neural driven tone issue. Okay, fine. You have spinal cord injury. We use it a lot, and we use it differently than I think how other clinics use it, but on how we can facilitate movement a lot, more effectively using the Neubie. So those things are definitely neuro re-ed. And then there's some other things like what we use with our athlete program, our peak performance program. Yes, they want to be better, faster, stronger, but a big component of that, not outside of nutrition and things like that, is what's that recovery look like? If you need to have a really good recovery program, and that recovery program, that's how you can use the Neubie in that capacity.
Hey, before we run out of time, I want to hit some of David's questions because I think it would be great to go through some of those. I'm going to grab them and bring them into the conversation. Let me see here. So, and remind me, do you know David Harvitz? Do you know him personally? Have you met?
The name sounds familiar. I don't think so. No, I definitely have not met him.
Okay, I think he's on Long Island, but I might be right. I don't know. Anyway, David made a post. He basically asked 3 questions. He said, and I believe David is minimum out of network, if not all cash base. But David said, are you willing to pay out of pocket for medical services from a provider who guarantees results? So he is asking other therapists, are we as therapists, as part of, the background, are we willing to pay for services with a provider who guarantees results? Let me hear your response, Dave, and then we'll kind of contribute.
Yeah, because I want to hear Jackie's answer to that as well. So for me, my wife Annie is a physical therapist as well. Obviously, we've treated each other over the years. I've also paid out of pocket to go to Kellen Scantleberry's Fit Club physical therapy. So I've paid out of pocket before. Years ago, I had like an elbow issue. I had a hamstring issue. So I've paid out of pocket, and he did not have a guarantee in terms of his offer or results or anything like that. For me, if there's anyone in New York City, and I think we've tested it. We had it backfire years ago, and I don't know if we have time to get into it, but happy to discuss it. We had an issue of the 100% money back guarantee for the first visit. But if a therapist or provider in the New York City area was offering that guarantee for some type of outcome, I would be even more inclined to use them or seek them out or go to Long Island or whatever to do so. But that's me. I think I'm a little different. Like I'm already paying out of pocket for something that maybe I could have self-treated, or maybe my wife probably treated, or we were busy and she didn't have time, or we just didn't focus on it enough or whatever. So yeah, like I've paid out of pocket. I paid out of pocket for Invisalign for my teeth. I mean, everything. Like I've already paid out of pocket for other things. And if there was an offer, a money back guarantee or something like that David's talking about, I would be even more so inclined to do so, because it's like uncommon. It's so rare. But I would love to hear Tony or Jackie's thoughts and they answer the question.
Jackie, you're up.
I honestly, I think I don't even think you have to really sell it, because health is wealth. And if you don't have your health, it doesn't really matter. People spend $600 to go to a Swiftie concert. People say they, like, oh my gosh, this costs a lot of money. Well, if you can't move, if you are in pain, if you're not feeling well, I don't care what you have, it doesn't really matter. So that investment to me, and I think that's where physical therapists, we can expand our practices. We can sandwich everything. And that's what we want to do. Like, that's what we're building too, is that what can you do as far as prevention? How can you do with rehabilitation? And then what can you do with optimization? And the underlying current is with all of that. I mean, we use a lot of modalities, but there are things that we can do. Your body is an electrical being, and there's so much that we can do that's non-pharmaceutical. I believe me, when you need meds, you need meds. When you need a surgeon, you need a surgeon. But what are all those steps that we can take ahead of that? That I think that's where the power is.
But what if it doesn't work for me, Jackie? You're saying if I move to Coldwater, I don't have insurance, it's $180 a visit. Wow, that sounds expensive. Like, what if it doesn't work? What if I don't improve?
Well, first of all, it just depends on like say you did come. Like, we need to have that discussion. This is what I'm willing to do. What are you willing to do? We need to have that discussion of like, I can do we can do a lot, but you have to have some ownership in what is going on. And like, that's like how our solutions based off, or what I'd like to build out is like, how do you answer that how do you answer that question? If after a month I'm not better, then what? I'm not going to guarantee you that I'm going to see you, until you're better. Not all conditions are going to get better, but first of all, I'm going to do my best damn care that I can give you, but then I'll extend that care out. I'm going to give you everything I can in the next 30 days and then cap it so that we know that there's an end. And then, what does that end look like? And we need to be on the same page of like, this is what, this is what's realistic. This is what is optimal. And this is what your responsibility is. And because who's to say that they don't do something outside of therapy? They don't trip, they don't fall, or they smoke, or they drink, or, whatever it is, it's, to say that I can get you 100% better. Maybe.
We've done, and we still do. I just ran an ad recently where we had a money back guarantee. If I can't improve your knee range of motion more than 10 degrees, I will absolutely give you your money back. I think the first kind of impression is money back guarantee is a little weird in healthcare. It's going to make everybody uncomfortable, first of all. I don't think you can guarantee the result. I think you can guarantee the experience. This is what we're going to deliver. I guarantee that we're going to deliver this, whatever this may be. But I know, just following David for so many years, like, he is so committed, so passionate. He believes so deeply in what he can deliver. I remember Dean Volk used to offer and make offers like that. He asked people, he was like, look, what if I could guarantee your sciatica pain is gone without surgery, without drugs? What is that worth to you? And I still think there's something on the consumer's mind where it just sounds unbelievable. If you can fix, air quote, fix me, why isn't everybody, doing this? Why are you so special and so different? And I think that immediately takes the consumer into suspicion. So for me,
yeah, we've been indoctrinated in that, though. That is the way our healthcare system has been set up for all these years. That what has been like, it really didn't pay before. It really didn't pay for us to really get them 100% better.
So I like where he's going with it. I like the intent behind it. I would say if I was on the consumer side, if it's something that I would typically expect insurance to cover, and I think that's the intent here, I would be immediately suspicious if you're going to make a guarantee. And then I'm going to go to, well, what do I have to do? Do I have to jump through a bunch of hoops? Do I have to do all this other stuff? I am just inherently suspicious of money back guarantees in general. His second question is there a price limit to what you're willing to spend for medical or pain related issues? And this is another one, is there a price limit? So like, as clinicians, the truth is most of us are struggling financially. We shouldn't be, but we are. So it's like, what is it worth it to you to eliminate a pain problem? Well, how is this pain affecting me? What is this pain keeping me away from? I literally, before we started recording, I'm in my clinic at the counter. A patient came up to me and was like, hey, I've got this bursa, or he's got a Baker cyst in the back of his knee. It's been bugging him. He's like, I can walk, I can run, I can do everything, but when I squat, it bugs me. I'm like, well, we have a soft wave. We can do stuff that might help you, but what is it worth to you? Is it worth $500 to try and resolve this nuisance issue? He's doing everything he wants to do. He's like, nah, it's not worth that. So it's like, all right, no problem. You know, we're good. What were you going to say, Dave?
Well, my thought on the second question is it is wildly different,
Yeah.
such a spectrum of some people that will actually never pay anything to have any type of conservative care, like Jackie said, that can actually help, that's got proven results, and she's got video testimonials and all that. Like, obviously, there's a ton of folks that it helps. So even if someone had a ton of chronic pain, could it help take off, 25, could it ease their pain 25 or 50%? So that they can still have some pain, maybe, and still, but move better and live better and whatever. There's some folks that obviously have more discretionary income that'll pay thousands. Like we have patients that pay a lot, sometimes a lot of money. We have some patients and clients that try us out for 1 or 2 visits, and then we have others that spend tens of thousands of dollars with us. It's insane. So another example is that we had a friend of a friend, and they were trying to refer the mother-in-law to our physical therapy practice. And then Annie, my wife, did a phone call with that individual. And then Annie went back to the referring person, the friend, and said, "Oh, I spoke with your mother-in-law, blah, blah, blah," because the friend was trying to help out. But then the friend, and this is maybe a Brooklyn thing, Tony, maybe a New York or Long Island thing, but the friend said, "I wanted to help out. I wanted you to, speak with her, but I didn't think she's actually going to go forward and actually put the effort in and pay out of pocket with you guys. I know you guys are great, and I referred her to try to get some, credibility or clout in the relationship or whatever." But the referring person said, if you helped her and you got rid of her knee pain, she wouldn't have anything else to complain about.
Yes.
And some people, their identity is wrapped around that issue or that condition. That person not only would never pay 1,000 or 5,000 or 10,000 or whatever out of pocket to get better, they also probably couldn't even be paid 10,000 to actually go and do the Neubie or go to Coldwater or go to, Tony Maritato's clinic or whatever. So it is wild. Like the span, like for me, Tony, you know me, like I would pay to go to Coldwater if I had some, rare neurological condition, and I could see how some people would do that. But then there's other people that will absolutely never do that. And it's just truly fascinating.
What's your experience with price point?
So some of that price point has a lot to do with me, because I'm always if I could give it away, I would. But now I'm to the point where, and this is completely stolen material, but I want to build a revenue stream that I want my vocation also to lead to more, money that I could do advocation. So I can give, and serve those people that can't afford it. So I want a little bit of a both, but I do feel that we have to, like, what we do is so undervalued, and it can be so much better, and it's really hard. But in our area, a lot of people are just very tied to their insurance, but the better outcomes that you can give. And I think you put up one of the best points. It's like, you may not give them a result, but you'll give them an experience. And I do think, like, our clinic I am proud of our clinic. I'm proud of our team. It's a first class operation. And
Yeah.
It came from, it wasn't given to us. Like, it was all hard work, and everybody helps, we all pitch in. And I think there is value in it.
I think an important aspect, before I get to David's last question, comment, an important aspect of what Jackie does is, I came out of the school, the mindset of modalities are a waste of time. Modalities are no better than placebo. Modalities are just turning electricity into dollars. It's an ATM. It's all a scam. But I think part of that is when you're looking at it as, okay, this person using the modalities has no clinical knowledge, no clinical background, no understanding. It's a very different use of modalities when you have somebody that has a solid depth of knowledge, who is genuinely passionate about doing what's in the best interest for the client. Now, I think without context, you don't know who has that kind of passion, that kind of belief, and who doesn't. You just see what's out there on social media. But knowing Jackie now, having been to her clinic, having seen her team and what she's doing, and just her like, she lights up when she's talking to an actual patient. There's nothing fake about that. You can't make that up. And so understanding that a therapist can have the depth of knowledge and the passion and still use modalities in a constructive way, this is something that I think at large we're not used to, because we're still used to the 300 plus thousand PTs out there that are fed up, burnout, underpaid, overworked. They're slapping on electrodes without any consideration of what it's doing, just so they have a little chance to breathe. That is a very different experience than what Jackie's been talking about. So the last part of what David said was, if your doctor referred you to a PT and said, look, they don't take insurance, but it works. The PT, they don't take insurance, but what they do works. Would that stop you from at least calling them? I'm going to say it would probably stop me, honestly, because I have a negative association. I have a negative association with what most clinicians do. I would never, I'm not going to say never. I would very unlikely go to a physical therapist. I know PTs who go to PT. I think you, Dave, have gone to a PT for treatment.
Several.
Yeah, I generally would never go to a PT for treatment unless I absolutely knew the PT on a personal level. I understood the mindset and the philosophy of the PT, and the PT was genuinely delivering something that I couldn't access somewhere else. And in that situation, yeah, I would pay. It wouldn't stop me from calling, but I think the first gut response is, no, I'm not going to call, because they're just going to try and sell me into something. And then I'm going to have to go through the dog and pony show to like, let them give me their sales. And then I'm going to say no, because I'm not going to want to waste money on stuff that's not going to help me. That's the gut response. That's the reality of me on the consumer side. I assume you have something different.
Yes, Jackie, if you don't already know, Tony and I, we love each other. We've known each other for 10 years, but there's at least one crossroads in every episode where we greatly disagree, and there's a divide. This is it. If this comes from a physician, Tony, this is like leverage word of mouth. If the physician says, hey, they're expensive, they're premium, it's out of pocket, but it works. They get great reviews and testimonials and all that. I understand maybe there's some population, some percentage of the population that is like Tony. They're going to take it that way. I don't know. I think 75% of it, and maybe it depends on the city or the state or the area, the demographic or whatever, but I think 75% of the referring patients that physician is saying that to, I think would consider paying out of pocket more all of a sudden, when right before that conversation, they might have been insurance mindset or insurance minded about their physical therapy and their care. That's just me with my, I don't know, Northeast or New York City bias. But if that's a physician saying that in New York City, closer to, I don't know, 80 or 90% of the potential patients would now have a reason to even make that call, to reach out. And now they're even, they're told up front that this place doesn't have, that they don't take insurance, or that they're out of pocket or whatever, which is that's even better than when we're running Google ads and people are looking to sometimes use their insurance. We get them on the phone, we go through the sales process and kind of lower their guard. And now they understand the value of why they would pay out of pocket for these types of offerings.
Before I let Jackie answer, I will say it probably goes one layer deeper. I don't trust the physician.
You're such an oddball consumer. Let's just put it out there, right? Jackie, for anyone listening right now, Jackie is almost choking Tony out. So Jackie and I we're in agreement. Love it.
I just generally think the physician and I don't agree on most things anyway.
Well, then why are you there? Why are you in this physician fake exam? Why are you saying physician?
Out of obligation, most of the time, my wife's like, "You need to go get a physical. You need to have somebody involved." But again, I'm using myself as, I think I represent a large portion of that patient community. I don't trust the doctor to really understand the full context of my situation in 5 minutes that they spent with me. I don't trust, I think they think they're doing what's best. Don't put me on Lipitor. Don't give me a statin.
Agree. I can agree with you on that.
Okay. We're gonna wrap up the show. What is your take on, if they say, hey, it works, will you at least give them a call?
I think depending on where you're at, I do think it has to do with where you're from, but a lot of people still have, I somewhat disagree, because I do think physicians still, in a lot of people's mindset, have their opinion is a little bit more elevated.
Higher status.
Yeah, it's a higher status, and they are gonna, if they can't fix you, they don't want to do something that's going to make them look bad. When it comes down to orthopedic surgeon or a physician, they don't want to look bad. They want to look good. And so I think they wouldn't want to refer you to somebody who just doesn't know what they're doing, that has, some shoddy experience.
So we have a tradition on the show. Jimmy McKay started it. We leave people with a parting shot, just a quick one idea. What would be your parting shot for anybody watching this who might be thinking about bringing in modalities, changing their business model, going out of network, any of the stuff that you do?
Personally, the first thing that comes to my mind is that using this, instead of being burnout, this has become a fountain and not a drain to our practice.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's perfect. Dave, what you got?
I love it. I have not experienced the Neubie yet. I've experienced certain devices, similar to it. I want to try it out. Jackie, you're showing what's possible. And this is, I think, part of the future of physical therapy, which is getting out of all these in-network insurance contracts, either going out of network with some of the out-of-network payers, depending on if it's offered in the area, if there's companies that have out-of-network benefits for their employees or not, or it's just mostly out of pocket. I looked up on Google Coldwater's population, the census of 2023, 4,712 residents in Coldwater. Yes. And here's a practice, Jackie's practice, that is spending a ton of money investing in modalities. So not just the Neubie, the spinal decompression table, the blood flow restriction, microcurrent, cupping, dry needling, Graston. That all takes money and time to train their, team and their employees and all that. Jackie mentioned the investment and trying to recoup that investment. So you guys have laid out a lot of money for a lot of these modalities, and you guys are getting results. You're getting folks to pay out of pocket in such a very small town. I mean, that's like, I'm from Maple Shade, a small little town in South Jersey. I think it's around 5,000 to 8,000. So it's a very similar size of population. So I understand the size and that area. So this is what's possible. This is what's possible. You don't have to keep the insurance mindset. You can do things differently. And by the way, this is not a commercial. Tony and I are not paid by Neubie, or Jackie. None of us are paid by Neubie to do this. We're just chatting about this. So we don't benefit at all if you go and buy it or not, or you mention Jackie or you don't, whatever. But it's just fascinating to see what's possible.
Yeah. And for the record, I am going to talk her into two things before she leaves today. One is a live event up in her area in Coldwater, so that we can bring clinicians out there. We can teach, we can educate, we can share ideas, show them what she's built. And two, raising her prices, like raising the prices of the evaluation, the first time experience, just because there is so much value in what she is delivering. Anybody willing to go to Coldwater is willing to pay $500 if they're willing to pay $200. Like, the cost isn't the experience, the cost is getting there. All right, guys, go check out the Dave Kittle Show, check out Learn Medicare Billing, check out PT Pintcast, and come back Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8:30 a.m. Eastern. Dave, as always, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Jackie. Nice